Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the daily edition of the Hindu newspaper and are equally relevant for your UPSC preparation. Articles dated 7th of February 2022 are listed on your screen. And the timestamping for these articles is already given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article for the day. This article appeared on page 8th of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the recent controversy in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir with respect to the Delimitation Commission. Some time ago, Delimitation Commission was created to go for delimitation exercise in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh. Delimitation simply means to create a limit for a particular task. Delimitation Commission is created to limit the constituencies created for a seat in the State Assembly or the Lok Sabha. Now, this Delimitation Commission for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh has prepared a report. This report was shared as a second draft with 5 associated members of this commission. These 5 associated members consisted 3 from National Conference in Jammu and Kashmir. And that is the reason why these 3 members have lodged their complaint about the Delimitation Commission and its report and call it as biased towards the people of Kashmir. Now, from the perspective of controversy, it is not at all desirable to prepare for UPSC preparation. What we have to prepare is, what is Delimitation Commission? Although we have already completed that multiple times in the previous DNS, but today we will look into some of those issues of Delimitation Commission which we have not prepared or which we have not taken previously. Apart from that, we will also look into some of the issues which were highlighted by these 3 members with respect to the delimitation in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So the content will include about the article, about the concerns of the members which were registered, what is gerrymandering, delimitation in India, about Delimitation Commission and the concerns about the Delimitation Commission. This article is relevant for your General Studies Paper 2 under Statutory and Quasi-Judicial Body. The background of the issue is that Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act was passed in 2019 and this act calls for delimiting exercise and creation of new constituencies of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh because both of these areas were bifurcated from the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. So new areas means new delimitation. And this was created under the Section 3 of Delimitation Act 2002. This commission was headed by the retired Supreme Court Judge Ranjana Desai and 2 members from the Election Commission. This is the first controversy or first issue that why a judicial member is part of the delimitation exercise where there is no issue or where there is no demand for legality. Delimitation exercise is more based on the administrative convenience. It is most based on the voting or the voters' convenience as well as the aspiration of the political parties. Then why a Supreme Court judge is being a member of this commission? So this is the first issue. Then we have the opposition made by the members of National Conference in Kashmir. The first one is that they have said the Article 370 and its abrogation is already sub judice. Then why government has brought any provision based on that particular act? And not only the abrogation, in fact, the act of 2019 itself is under the judicial scrutiny. And any act which is under the judicial scrutiny or is under the judicial act is considered to be constitutionally suspect law. And following that law, to create any other administrative answer is not legal as per these members. They have also said that Delimitation Commission for Jammu and Kashmir has increased the seats without considering the population as a major criteria? Because most of the time what we see that delimitation exercise is completely or mostly biased towards the population as a factor. For instance, the seats of Tamil Nadu and seats of Kerala has been going in a backward mode. On the other hand, seats for Uttar Pradesh or seats of Bihar is going in a front mode because of the population criteria. So if population is measured in these states, then why not Jammu and Kashmir? And the last issue highlighted by NC is that the commission has extended more seats to the Jammu and Kashmir on the pretext of difficult terrain and geographically remote areas. If that is the criteria, then the highest seats should have been allocated towards Ladakh and not Jammu. Now we come to what is gerrymandering. Well, this term started and popularized in United States of America. It simply means the act of manipulating the boundaries of election districts. In India, election districts are known as constituencies. And this is done to provide edge to the ruling party or to dilute the voting powers of member to a ethnic or a linguistic minority group. It is like this. Let's say this is a particular constituency and it has a population of, let's say, 10 lakh people. And this area of this constituency, let's say, has minority population. Now, if the Delimitation Commission cut out this area and keep it as part of other constituency just to meet the demand of ruling party, then this act would be known as gerrymandering. And this is what was highlighted even by the members of National Conference. Now we come to the revision of what Delimitation Commission is. We have already done this previously also, but so in that case we will take it in brief. Delimitation means the act of redrawing the boundaries of Lok Sabha or the State Assembly that we have discussed, which should represent the equal population for the each and every seat. This delimitation exercise is given under Article 82 of the Indian Constitution that empowers the Parliament to legislate a separate delimitation act from time to time for this exercise. For your information, Delimitation Commission is created under the Delimitation Act. It is not mentioned directly in the Constitution of India. So you have to have a clear idea on that. Under the Constitutional Amendment 84 and 87, there was a separate Delimitation Act which was created in 2002. Similarly, it was created 3 times in the past also. But as we have said, most of the time the delimitation exercise is based on the population as an important parameter. And that is the reason why the populous states are getting benefit and the less population states are getting disadvantage on this commission's report. Delimitation Commission, which is created under this act, fixes the limit or the boundaries of the territorial constituency. That is, outside this constituency, people will not be able to vote for that constituency's candidate. It is a single exercise for the entire nation. Separate Delimitation Commission for specific state is created only under certain conditions. For instance, some of the states in northeast India, because of the security concerns, were not able to conduct the delimitation exercise in 2002. So it was created later on. Another issue arises with respect to delimitation is that it cannot be called in question in any court of law. Its copies are although laid down in the houses of people and the state assembly, but they are not allowed to bring any modification. Secondly, anything done by the Delimitation Commission is not subjected to the alteration. Although before the implementation of the report, n number of changes can be made. But that is subjected to the members of the commission and not the outsider body. So now we come to the concern. The first one is the exercise is restricted by the constitution because since 2002, the demographic dividend of India has changed considerably. And the next exercise, which is going to be conducted 4 years down the line, that is 2022, will have a gap of 24 years that is enough to bring a drastic change in the population parameter. So this freezing of the seat is not a good idea. Then, frozen of the seat is not only limited to the general category but also to the ST/SC population, which remains outside the ambit of good welfare in the country. Then we have seen that despite the abrogation of Article 370 and the sub judice of the material, delimitation exercise was conducted in these two union territories without court's order. There is no legislative representation in the commission. As we have seen, there is one judicial member and two members from the election commission. And last, commission is not at all accountable to any authority in India. So whatever they say is taken for granted, which also opens for high level of discretion, misuse of power, and even the political patronage by these members. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article appeared on page 1st of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the recent move which central government is planning to bring. Government of India is planning to amend the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act 1958 to make the 100-meter criteria limitation a site-specific criteria. Well, as of now, 100-meter is considered to be the minimum criteria to construct anything, including the public projects around a national monument. It simply means that if government, for instance, or if a private individual is planning to build a house or a road or any other constructing activity, let's say around Taj Mahal or let's say around Red Fort in Delhi. So that construction, if it is falling under 100 meters, will not be allowed at all. And this is creating a kind of problem in the developmental activities around the national monument. Despite the fact that there were certain constructions which were existing around the ancient monuments before the coming of this act. And forget everything else. Government itself is not able to bring any kind of development, not even the construction of roads around these specific monuments. And that is the reason most of the constructions around the monuments are considered to be the encroachment rather than the task of development. This limit is 100 meters, however, can expand up to 300 meters in radius. In 2010, there was an amendment which was brought, but this amendment was not taken with the consideration of Archaeological Survey of India. An Archaeological Survey of India, along with the Parliamentary Standing Committee report, says that there is no specific reason why the limit is 100 meter or why the limit is 300 meter. Why this limit is there? Let's say there is a specific monument over here and the construction activity is going on at, let's say, place B. So this is your monument place A and this is the construction which is going on in place B. Now the rule says that it should be 100 meters away from the monument. That's okay. But what if there is already a construction which is centuries old around this monument? Let's say it is construction or a place C. So these are the real issues which is being held. And if C is getting the exemption, then why B is not getting the exemption? And what is the basic criteria of 100 meter? Don't we think that 100 meter is a universal, one size fits all approach? So that is the reason why government is thinking to bring a change in this kind of law. This article is important because in 2018 mains, UPSC has asked questions in your General Studies paper 1, where we talk about art and culture, to safeguard the Indian art heritage, and in the same year the same issue was in news. So even in history questions you can expect current affair related themes to be asked. So be aware about the important historical news articles in the newspaper. Now if we go through the pros and cons of such moves, well, these are the following. Let us move towards the pros first. This move would allow the existence or the continuation of the existing structure without any complaint from the government side or from the existing owners. So those people who are already within the 100 meters can stay there. The best example would be the example of the Taj Mahal. It will also promote the tourism and hospitality sector. So, new hotels, restaurants, or even the basic roads or footpath can be easily developed around those monumental sites. It will simply ease out the grievances through their redressals. Because after the amendment, people who are living within the 100 meters can claim their existence. It will remove the ambiguities between 100 meters, 300 meters, and beyond. And lastly, this provision will empower the Archaeological Survey of India to act against the illegal encroachment if the limit then allows or does not allow. It will get powers like many other authorities having powers under Indian Forest Act to preserve and conserve the Indian wildlife. Now coming to the issues that this amendment might create. The first one would be that if government allow different rules or different conditions for different monuments, it will create the encroachment or will encourage the encroachment around that specific monument. It will also increase the illegal possessions by those people who are considering the illegal monuments to be their legalized possessions. Then it can also go against the basic conservation and preservation program of the government. And lastly, it will also encourage the popular politics on the specific monuments. Now, what government should do? The first thing government can do is then they can create separate amendments or they can bring separate provisions for public constructions, that too the construction which does not harm the existence of a monument. Let's say the construction of footpath around the monument or construction of basic road around the monument. They may also call for creating, let's say, a habitable ecosystem or a natural ecosystem, let's say a small forest area or a small garden around the specific monument. But if it is for the public use, that can have separate provision. If it is for the private use, that can have separate provision. Well, with this debate, you will be in a position to understand the right approach which government should utilize while dealing with such kind of issues. And these are the arguments that could have easily been used in May's 2018 to substantiate your answer. Similarly, this is what the Ancient Monument and Archaeological Site and Remains Act talk about. So this is important for your prelim examination. This act provides for preservation and regulation of archaeological sites including ancient historical sites. They also talk for protection of sculptures which are being stolen from India. It provides the functional powers to Archaeological Survey of India. It prohibits construction. The same 100-meter criteria is given in this act. And it also does not permit the construction even for the public purposes around the monuments. However, exemptions are there. But these exemptions create the discretionary power, and this discretionary power promotes the corruption in the government. So this exemption should be dealt seriously. Then it provides the extension of prohibited area, as we have seen 100 meters in some cases become 300 meters. This act allows the designation of a particular monument as the ancient monument of national importance, which increases the level of protection and conservation given. Under this act, the National Monument Authority can make the recommendation for the construction of public work around the specific monuments. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article appeared on page 4th of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the initiative of the central government along with the Odisha government to make a fresh attempt and bring more tigers as well as more suitable habitat for tigers in Satkosia Tiger Reserve, which is also a wildlife sanctuary. The context says that the Satkosia Tiger Reserve is facing issues of poor tiger population as well as encroachment across its territory. The relevance of this article is from the fact that questions related to tiger reserves, tiger conservation, map location, and geographical places can be asked from this article. In the mains examination, it is important under the ecological preservation and the wildlife conservation, which could be asked in GS paper 3. So, the content for the discussion would include all about the article, that is simplification, map work based on the Satkosia Tiger Reserve, other important tiger reserves in the country and their distribution, issues related to the relocation of tiger, and issues with the population living around the tiger reserves. Well, Satkosia, which was originally a wildlife sanctuary in the state of Odisha, was declared as Satkosia Tiger Reserve in 2007, and this was the first tiger reserve utilized for the relocation program of tigers in the country. Before this, there was no tiger reserves which were under the program of relocation. And relocation here simply means that tigers, where their density is high, are taken to those places where their density is low. So, in this case, tigers from Kana, Madhya Pradesh were taken under consideration for their relocation to Satkosia in Odisha. Currently, there is only one tigress which is being reported, and that too 2 months ago. There is a high degree of human interference in and around the Satkosia Tiger Reserve. And because of this, whatever was the population of tiger which was there in this tiger reserve has been lost and has become one of the reason why government is thinking to bring tigers back in this particular area in their natural habitat. As you know, that tiger reserves is part of in situ wildlife conservation. National Board for Wildlife has already excluded over 100 villages which were located around the Satkosia Tiger Reserve. This was taken as a decision because tigers were trapped in the poacher's trap for their hunting purposes, and even villagers were protesting against the presence of tigers in their locality. Now, this is a real issue of man animal conflict. Tigers are the natural residers, natural habitant of particular forest. It is the human who have acquired those places which were naturally the habitat of tigers. So tigers are not responsible for encroaching into the human settlements. Instead, humans have encroached into the settlements of the tigers. And as we have seen in the case of Satkosia, where because of the higher presence of humans, the number of tigers is almost zero now. So you can also quote this as one of the example to show the case of negative impact of man animal conflict. This is also a good example to show that population expansion and its impact on the environment or specifically the wildlife. Because of these reasons, government has created the extra compensation to people to get resettled at some other places. But still, the progress is not very much promising. Now, from this article, what we can learn? We can learn three important things. First of all, we should learn about the Satkosia tiger reserves. Why? Because in the prelim examination, UPSC has a habit of asking about tiger reserves, national parks, and biosphere reserves. Secondly, this article talks about National Board for Wildlife, for which we'll take some prelims related factual knowledge. And lastly, we will look into some of the elements or a debate on tiger relocation. So, what is and where is Satkosia Tiger Reserve? It was earlier a wildlife sanctuary declared in 1976. In 2007, it was declared as Tiger Reserve and was selected for Tiger Relocation Program. It is located in the gorge created by the Mahanadi River in the state of Odisha. It includes Satkosia Gorge Sanctuary, Baisipalli Sanctuary, and Mahanadi Elephant Reserve. So these three were combined together to create this tiger reserve. This place is known for the meeting point of two biogeographical regions in India. First being your Deccan Peninsula, and the second one is Eastern Ghats, that we will look very shortly in a map. The forest type where this tiger reserve is located is the moist deciduous forest. That means it remains green mostly, but the trees also shed their leaves in a particular season. Now coming to the National Board for Wildlife. It is an apex body for all wildlife related matters in the country. It talks about and work for the promotion of wildlife conservation and their specific development. It is a statutory body. That is the reason why it is known as board. It was constituted in 2003 under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So Wildlife Protection Act, National Board for Wildlife. This body is responsible to approve the projects in and around a protected area, which includes national park, wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserves, or even the biosphere reserves. It acts as an advisory board and advises the central government, not the state, advises the central government on policy matters with respect to the wildlife conservation. See, you should not be confused with wildlife conservation to the declaration of protected areas. Declaration of a protected area is a different task, which is respectively shared by the union and the state government. But in this case, they are talking about the conservation, to protect the species and not to declare a particular area as a protected area. And lastly, this board is chaired by the Prime Minister of India. Now coming to the specific map, as you can see, this blue line shows the boundary or the state border of the state of Odisha. As you can see, Satkosia is situated in the central part, and this is the specific area where the Deccan Plateau, which is expanded in this direction, is meeting the starting or the beginning of Eastern Ghat, which is in this direction. And that is the reason why this place is known for its uniqueness. UPSC has already asked one question on the meeting of two different areas, that is the Western Ghat and the Eastern Ghats, previously in the prelim examination. This tiger reserve is situated on the sidelines or the bank of Mahanadi river, and this river creates a gorge, and this gorge is known for Satkosia Tiger Reserve. As you can see from this map, the red line shows the Mahanadi river, which is making delta, and that delta opens in the Bay of Bengal. This is your Chilika Lake situated here. It is India's largest lagoon. And this on the northern part you have the Hirakund Dam. So such kind of map work is required and it is desirable from the student preparing for the UPSC. So whenever you go through a particular national park, wildlife sanctuary or any other protected area, this is the task you have to do. Now with this tiger reserve, the focus should also come to the other tiger reserves situated in the country. We have taken this map from the Wildlife Institute of India and its website. You can also go through the website and you can get the individual names of all the tiger reserves. As per the data provided by the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun in 2021-22, there are 52 tiger reserves in the country situated in about 18 states. That is, every state in India does not have a tiger reserve. For instance, now from this map, what we learn? That states like Gujarat, states like Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, or even states like Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura or Sikkim does not have even a single tiger reserve. On the other hand, there are states in central India, as you can see, the number of tiger reserves situated in this region. This area of India also shows the largest expansion of forest in India, as states like Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh holds one of the highest area under forest, and I am talking about the absolute terms and not the percentage wise. So now the question arises, is it important for the student to remember the names of all these tiger reserves? Well, the answer would be no. You have to go through those tiger reserves which are either associated with the biosphere reserves or very important heritage sites under UNESCO. You should also go through those tiger reserves which were in the news. With this, let us look into some of the issues associated with the relocation of tiger. Well, these are some of the issues which are associated with the relocation of a tiger from one national park or one protected area to the other. The first one is potential poaching. Now, government is thinking to bring more tigers into Satkosia Tiger Reserve, which is a good idea. But Satkosia is already under threat from poaching and illegal killing of the animals. So, if they bring more tigers, they are bringing more potential threat of poaching in Satkosia. And similar situation also arises when government is planning to bring cheetah in India. It also causes the clashes of interspecies. So species which are already there, which have already dominated Satkosia, in the absence of tiger, will find it difficult to adjust with tigers as a new species in their locality. So let's say elephants are there. As of now, there is no tiger. So elephants and their habitation has changed. They must be wandering easily. They must have started living easily. But the moment they see a new tiger in the locality, it creates interspecies clashes. Then there is the issue of succession, which was published in relation to the tigers of Rajasthan recently. A report submitted by the Forest Department in Rajasthan has said the relocation of many tigers across India to Rajasthan have shown that the species of tigers which were relocated have shown two important traits. First, they have seen the successive increase in their body mass, and secondly, they have seen a successive increase in the length of those tigers. Because of both these things, they have become more passive and lethargic to go for hunting purposes. Then comes the issue of non adjustment by species. Sometimes the species which was located at a particular place, let's say a tiger was taken from Kana National Park and it was located to any other place. That particular tiger may find it difficult to adjust in that particular area. Or they may even die because they cannot find the prey to hunt and survive at that harsh conditions. Then comes the unwanted financial burden on the central and the state government, which involves the entire movement of an animal from one place to the other. Then comes the state related disputes. There are certain states in the country which are very specific about the conservation of wildlife. So, if the central government pushes one state to give up their conservation effort in order to meet the conservation efforts of the other state, that creates the interstate disputes. Then we have geographical anomalies. So the conditions or the forest type at Satkosia may not be similar to the national parks across India. Similarly, the same case applies to the relocation of cheetah. So India is trying to bring cheetah from Africa. Now Africa has different climatic conditions which may not be suitable or which may not be equivalent to the conditions in India. Now, the place in Madhya Pradesh also goes through the winter season. But cheetah of Africa is not suitable to survive in the winter situation. So, this geographical anomalies may also go against the particular species. And the last one is non approval by locals. As we have seen in the case of Satkosia, local people, specifically the people who have been relocated or who are expanding in the forest area, does not want a deadly species to be relocated to that place because they think such kind of species will create a threat to their life and property in the future. With this issue, now we also have the issue of population around the tiger reserve. Now, this is a long term debate. The first is that it calls for a debate on environment versus development. Now, population living around a tiger reserve or any other protected area for say goes for development purposes. So if there is a tribal population, government is thinking to bring education, so they will set up schools. They are thinking to provide health services to the poor tribal people, so they will set up hospitals. But setting up a infrastructure in the forest area means we are going for development. And development here means clearing the forest. Once we start going for clearing the forest, it will create the anti-environmental activities. So it remains the issue of environment versus development. Where should we go? The second one is the man-animal conflict. When people go around the tiger reserves or any specific protected area, it is often seen that the animals from these protected areas often enter into the human habitation. Specifically, they enter the agriculture fields. Humans, in order to save themselves, they kill these precious endangered or sometimes critically endangered species. And in that case, we cannot justify the killing of a tiger, nor we can justify protecting the animal in order to kill the humans. And this has created the man-animal conflict across India. The third problem is the problem of socio-economic clashes. When a protected area is declared, it calls for relocation of already existing tribal population or the human settlement. These human settlements are relocated, they are rehabilitated somewhere else. This might create these social issues. A particular tribe may not find it suitable to adjust into the society of a new location. They may not find the desirable economic conditions or employment opportunities in a new location. And that is the reason why it can create socio-economic clashes between different communities of different region. And the last one is the environmental issue. Whenever there is a human population around a protected area, most of this human population is based on the agricultural activity. And agricultural activity, as we have discussed, calls for the clearing of forest. Clearing of forest not only creates the more emission of CO2, but the existence of agriculture, and most specifically the paddy agriculture, causes for the release of methane gases. And that creates the environmental issues not only for the human settlement but also for the flora and fauna in the protected area. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you with this question to practice. Read these questions clearly and try to answer in the comment box. This would be your question number 1. This article appeared on page 5th of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the rare insect species found in Seshachalam hilly areas. The species is called as black ground skimmer and it is a species of dragonfly. So this article proves that dragonfly and its species is found in India, first of all. Secondly, this species is found in the dry deciduous to moist deciduous areas of eastern Ghats in India. So these are the two important facts that we have to take from this article. Beyond that, nothing is required to take from this article. As far as IUCN is concerned, we have already covered IUCN in multiple times in the DNS. So you can go in the search option of YouTube and you can go through the IUCN from RAU'S IAS. So what is more important in this article? The most important thing in this article is the Seshachalam hilly areas. This was once given as an option in the UPSC examination, and that is the purpose why we are giving this article for today's discussion, to show you that there is one important aspect in the prelim examination which you have to keep in mind. And that option is this. So this question was asked by UPSC in 2017. The question is asking about a particular point in the Indian geography which act as a link between the Eastern Ghats and the Western Ghats. Whenever a UPSC asks a specific question and they give such kind of options, then despite knowing the correct answer, what you have to do, you have to go through the other options as well and read about them specifically, because UPSC may not repeat the same question next time, but they will pick up the options to create their next question. So answer to this question was option A. However, in future they can ask questions on Nalamala Forest, Nagarhole National Park, or even the Seshachalam Biosphere Reserve. As today's article focus on Seshachalam Biosphere Reserve, so we will discuss that in brief. Now, if you have to attempt such kind of questions, geographical knowledge of places is important. Now, Nalamala Forest is on the northern side of Andhra Pradesh. Nagarhole National Park is situated in Karnataka, that too in the eastern part. And Seshachalam is located in the central part or south central part of Andhra Pradesh. On the other hand, Sathyamangalam Tiger Reserve is located on the closer border of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which logically proves that it is the area where Eastern Ghat and Western Ghat is meeting. Now let us gain some prelims based factual knowledge with respect to Seshachalam Hills. They are located in the southern and southern central part of Andhra Pradesh, and they are subparts of Eastern Ghats. They are known for sandstone, shell, and limestone minerals. The most unique place which is found in Seshachalam Hills is the Tirumala Hills, where we have the Tirupati temple. As far as flora is concerned, this place is known for red sandalwood, which is one of the protected species of plants in India. And this area was declared as biosphere reserve in 2010. Going by the map, so this is the basic place where you can see Seshachalam Hills is located. On the northern part of Seshachalam Hills, we have Nalamala forest. As you can see, it is on the upper part of Eastern Ghats. So this is where you have your Eastern Ghats. As you can see, they are taking two different bends, and this is where Eastern Ghat is meeting the Western Ghats. And this is the place where we have Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve, and this was asked by UPSC in its prelim examination. From this map itself, we come across two important facts. First, Eastern Ghat is far away from the coastal areas. As you can see, the distance between Eastern Ghat is more than the distance of Western Ghat from its coastal areas. Somewhere down the line, Western Ghats are running just parallel to the coastal areas. Second thing is that the width of Western Ghat is more than that of the Eastern Ghat, as you can see from this map itself. So UPSC can ask such kind of questions, that is the extension, the reason, or even their location in the upcoming prelim examination. So go through the map very thoroughly. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you with this question to practice. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. This would be your question number 2. Let us now move to the question of the day. So read this question given on the right side and try to answer in the comment box. With this, we come to the end of today's Daily News Simplified. Thank you.